And we're back! Right, Brian?
We're back!
Jesus. Anyway, so I got all the timing components on the engine. Got nice brand new timing belt, new idlers, tensioner, got new the back, timing cover things. Can't remember what they're called at this very moment, but they're it's the back side of the timing cover. Got all my timing marks lined up. It's pretty much all perfect. And I got new hoses too. So you want to make sure you guys don't have any leaks. Definitely want to build this engine to be good quality, not leak all over the ground or have a bunch of old, crappy, used parts on it. It's gonna be really nice. So I think it's gonna be. What do you think, Brian? Okay. All right. Fuck. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna start putting all the fun parts on now, which hopefully you guys all seen by now from our Instagram page, which Brian did have them up over there earlier. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, so we got the front timing covers on, and got the new crank pulley on, got new spark plugs in here, and I got the ignition coils in. Now we're just gonna start putting on the fun stuff. So I think we'll get the TGV housings on first, and then we'll go through the list and see what parts we got to go on this thing, which is pretty big, so we'll have to figure out from there. So one of the first things we're going to be doing on this car, one of the first mods, is going to be these IAG phenolic spacers. And the reason why I like the IAG ones is because it comes with nice brand new OEM gaskets, and it comes with alignment dowels that you can use to, you take the old ones out, which they go here and here, and you take those out and you put the new ones in. That way they sit a little bit taller to align these nice new phenolic spacers. So one of the easiest ways that I found to get these dowel pins out is to use some vice grips and kind of just pinch the sides of it, right on basically the sides of where that opening is. You can kind of see it right there. Give it a nice squeeze together, which, there we go. And you just kind of want to shake it back and forth and work it out. And then, bloop, look at that. It just comes right out. And then the new ones, we can knock those ones in. I'll show you. So what I got here is a long 1/4 inch extension with a 5.5 millimeter socket on the end. And you can see the, let's see if we can get it to focus. Come on. There we go. Ha! So this fits nicely in there. What we'll do then is basically stick it right in there, right in the hole. And you're just going to give it a nice little tap on top of the rubber mallet. And it should go in nicely until it bottoms out. Alright, so once you got the phenolic spacer installed, it should look pretty much like this. We got a gasket on the bottom, the spacer in the middle, and then another gasket on top. It's basically sandwiched between the head and the TGV housing, which we'll grab one of those real quick. Set it on top of here just as an example. So why do we want this? Well, one, it spaces it up higher, which once you get both of them on and you put the intake manifold on top, the intake manifold will now sit higher as well. That gives us more clearance when we want to install the turbo inlet, especially if you're putting a bigger one in, like a 3-inch on a bigger turbo. You want to have as much clearance as possible, especially with a stock STI intake manifold. Another reason we like this is because the spacer is actually meant to stop heat transfer. So when, engine's running, gets to normal operating temperature, it gets pretty hot. And instead of having that heat transfer from the head through the TGVs and into the intake manifold and just kind of heating up the air inside, this will help stop that to a point. That way you don't have a transfer going from the head to the TGV. And I don't know how much it really helps in the end, but I'm sure any bit of performance gains is great. Keeping a nice cold air temperature is always important. So this is just a nice addition to any install. And in this specific case, we're using 8 millimeter spacers, which is great if you're doing a front mount intercooler like we are. If you're doing a top mount, I would go a little bit shorter. Otherwise, what it can do is kind of mess with the spacing of where the top mount intercooler meets up with the throttle body. And so usually you go with a 3 millimeter on that one. I know they have a 5 millimeter as well, but I haven't tried those out, so I can't verify that. And IAG gives you these bolts to use. They're a little bit too short for our application, obviously, so that's not going to reach through. In this situation, I actually have some longer ones from a previous install a while back, and these are longer than the factory bolts are, so it should be able to go all the way down and still have enough threads to actually grab into the head and tighten down. So this will be just fine and dandy. Right, Brian?
Fine and dandy.
All right, next up, we got some nice brand new Cobb fuel injectors. It's the 1050X ones, and some nice new radium fuel rails, and a whole plumbing kit, actually. So this will come with the lines, all the fittings we need. Nice new fuel pressure regulator, which this design is actually really cool. I'll show it to you. I'll show it more to you guys later once we get going on that. So here's our fuel injectors installed into the rail. One thing I want to point out with these that I think is really cool is that Radium also gives you these fuel dampers. They give you a nice little kit. So these dampers get installed right into the bottom of the fuel rail here, just like this. So it looks like that right there. And the point of these is basically to deal with any kind of pressure spikes that might be in the fuel system. It helps stabilize your fuel pressure. You can kind of think of it as like, let's say you're, turning a water faucet full blast and then off, full blast and then off. Sometimes at your house, depending on your house and how old it is, you might kind of hear like a clunk, like the pipes in the walls shaking, just creating a vibration because that water's flowing so quickly, then all of a sudden you're just shutting off that flow, and it has momentum, right? So as it stops, it creates a kind of a back pressure almost. And in this case, it's basically just the fuel injectors opening and closing. So as they close, all that fuel pressure stops. And you can create pressure spikes in the system, which can make it a little bit harder to tune. It can create other, stabilization issues, especially at higher RPMs. So one thing you want to have is a nice damper kit, which Radium has provided. And this will be great. Helps smooth out fuel pressure, keeps everything running nice and great, and it'll be a lot better for tuning once this thing's all ready and done. So we'll get this installed, and then we'll check back. So now we got our fuel rail installed with our injectors and the damper and our TGV housing. So we're going to go ahead and flip this thing around and start getting the header installed. All right, got it flipped around. Got our nice new gaskets. Mother, I swear to God.
Love you.
Anyway, so got this nice new IAG header here that was sent over to us. So this is going to be nice. We already got it ceramic coated from our friends over at Performance Coatings in Auburn. They do a great job. They do the whole inside of the pipe and out to make sure that heat actually stays in. And this is great for a nice long-term coating. It's better than wrapping the header. I do not like wrapping headers. In case you ever get an oil leak, it can, turn into a fire. So we don't want any fires. And I got our nice new hardware. So we'll get this installed real quick and be on to the next thing. Check it out. Got the nice new header on there with a nice new up pipe. Looks beautiful. Next up, we got this nice new Grimspeed JB400 turbo. Can't wait to get that on. I already got the water pipes torqued down. Follow the nice instructions they give you. It's actually kind of cool. They give you a like an oil squirter syringe so you can pre-lube the turbocharger before you start the engine. It's a good idea. Comes with nice new gaskets too. And of course some stickers. Everything's got stickers. We got stickers for days. So we'll get this going and then on to the next thing. Alright, so off camera I kind of went through and got the main engine harness installed. So that way we're pretty much about ready to actually install the engine now. Got the turbo installed as well. Put nice new drain tube in there. Everything's all hooked up. And I'll show you how we got the engine bay nice and clean in our giveaway car here as well. so we got one end in this nice warm bucket of soapy water. So now that it's all nice and clean, we can pretty much get our engine installed. Got the throwout bearing ready, clutch fork is in. All we got to do is get this thing on a hoist and get the clutch installed and throw it back in the car. Right, Brian?
The heart's about to go back in.
Woohoo! And the engine is in! If you guys have ever installed one of these things before, you know how much of a pain it can be sometimes. I found the best way to do it is just basically get it at the same angle as the transmission, get it lined up as much as possible. And sometimes you have to fight the turbo a little bit because it'll get caught on the bell housing, which is super annoying. But once you get everything lined up, it should just slide right in. It's all just about getting an input shaft at the same angle. But now I at least have some ability to continue and get the rest of these mods on. Now that we know where everything's going to go, it'll be a lot easier to get it together. So now I can start mocking up the intake manifold and get that installed, get the fuel lines ran, and I guess see whatever else we got to add onto here. We got a bunch more parts, so let's go! And bam! Look at this. Got a bunch of stuff installed. So got the IAG air oil separator. Got our nice new Perrin pitch stop mount. And got the radium fuel pressure regulator in there, along with the fuel lines ran. One thing I actually really like about this kit is, if you notice, on the front of the rails, it's just blocked off. It doesn't actually have return lines that go back to the regulator. You just have two feed lines that come off and run cleanly to the back, so you don't even really see the fuel lines. And then inside the regulator, it just returns whatever fuel is not used back to the tank. And you can adjust it on top really nicely with this little dial. Super cool and super easy, and has a nice clean finish. Nice clean fitment, I mean, right there on the side of the shock tower. That's the word. Sorry, having a hard time today. We got our downpipe installed. I don't know, more stuff. There's always more things to do, but I think I'm going to end the video here for now, just because I think it's already getting kind of long at this point, maybe. And we got a lot more parts to install, so we'll do that on the next one. So I guess just keep watching. And don't forget, guys, go enter to win. You could win this whole car. This whole thing. It's going to be awesome, too, when it's all done. It's going to be a nice 2008 STI hatchback. You just got to enter. And the drawing should be up here pretty soon, so I got to get this finished up, and then guess we'll see who wins. Bye-bye!